we're behind the CD. We pulled out the CD, and there was like this clue on a piece of, one sheeter that had the poem and a symbol, and they were like, someone happened to find it because they dropped the CD, and the jewel cases, they used to like scatter out, and you have to piece them back together. And someone found it behind it, and they're like, "What the hell? Like, what is this?" And that's how it got found out. So then, when we announced the record a year later, everyone was opening the CD cases to like see, and like, oh, it was there all along, because it didn't.
No one knew,
wasn't like
right?
No one knew, and it didn't go. It's not like it went viral when someone scattered their CD case. That's just the first that we heard about it.
Bringin It Backwards.
Yo.
Hey, what's up, Jake? How are you, man?
Good, man. How many is AI nodes? Holy crap.
Yeah. It's very
robots.
helpful.
Are you real?
I am real, I promise.
Promise?
How's it going, dude? How are you?
Good, man. I'm good. I'm in New York State, so I'm on a similar time zone to Americans anyway.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you're what, 10 right now?
Yeah, 10.
Right on. I'm in Nashville, so not too far from
Nashville?
You. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. In the San Diego? No.
I'm from San Diego, but I live in Nashville now. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. A lot of people go to Nashville.
I know, it's wild. We moved here end of 2020, and it was like everyone's like, "Oh man, you're another person from California," and then we've just watched even more and more and more and more people move here. So.
Yeah, it's good how you've got because you can go to the mountains and like it's more affordable, right?
Oh yeah, way more. And you can if you need to hit the beach, you can go south, even like Alabama, Florida has the Gulf Coast and stuff. So
how far is that?
I don't know, 4 hours or so.
Yeah, it's a drive.
It's a drive. It's not 10 minutes from my house before.
No. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, but still, I think San Diego's, they're cool cities, but like the land is real barren. Hey, for living.
Yeah, it's super expensive. So, right on, man. Well, I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. We'll talk about the album and all that great stuff. If that works.
We can talk about you too.
I'm not that interesting.
Hey, man, you moved to Nashville. I was interested. I genuinely was.
Are you? So you're from Australia originally, right?
Yeah.
Are you living in New York or no?
No. My family, my mom's side, so half American. So we're all from New York, a few generations. But my parents met on a movie set in like New Zealand, and I ended up moving to Australia, and that's how I ended up there. Yeah.
Wow. I was going to ask if you come from a creative household. It sure sounds like it. I mean, if your parents are
definitely the I don't want to call the black sheep in their families, but in some ways, like the artists, the ones wanting to do shit differently.
Yeah.
The difficult ones. Yeah,
that's cool. What do they do in the film industry?
Oh, back then, but they were both actors.
Oh,
they both studied. My mom went to Yale doing drama, got a scholarship to go to Yale, and my dad was acting in New Zealand. And my mom, went on an Odyssey trip, and one way or another, events led her to New Zealand, and then she needed to pick up a job, and so she's like, "All right, cool, this is what I'm good at." So they both met on a movie set back in the 80s. Yeah.
Wow. Did they continue to act after you were born and everything?
No, once my mom had me, I mean, bless her, she had another dig. She went back to LA, but then she was like, this is not like, this isn't living. This isn't like I love the art form, but like it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your dad end up continuing to act?
No, he didn't. No, they both stopped. My dad went into full all right, well, we got to get a place, and he ended up buying a bakery.
Wow.
And he worked for the bakery, and then he bought the bakery because he realized like the guy was selling it, and like this could actually, the cash flow it generates enough to make it be a viable business. And then they just doubled down in Australia, and my mum went on to become a tarot reader because she was always really intuitive. Acting.
Really?
You've got to be So she's still a tarot reader now. And my dad's picked up a couple of little like fun acting gigs over the years. Like I remember sending a photo, doing things on student sets, like with little film productions, but they were never for like, they were always for passion, not to go make a career out of it. Yeah,
That's awesome that your mom's a tarot card reader. I think that's so interesting. All that stuff is so fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It is fascinating. Yeah.
Would she guys like read you guys your cards and stuff or was it just something that she kind of did on as her business?
No, it's her business. It's her business. Like it's not a, oh, let's just see what happens if we pull a few cards. It was definitely like, you've got to go to like pretty serious. There's got to be a need, let's just say.
Okay.
And so people that come to her, they're not, the curious people, let's call it, doesn't always work out for them because they're coming in with just like, a feeble curiosity, as opposed to people that have a need. And when you have a need, I believe, and from experience, like that's when, I don't know, I'd use a better term, spirit, intuition, the other side, the things that come through, that's when those things come through and there's a need. Because that's usually when, without getting too deep, it's usually when our hearts are most open, when we have a need, either in a time of crisis, breakup, death, or longing, or like searching, it's like, fuck, what am I going to do? And so she actually went on a few, like they're funny, but like TV shows, those getaway kind of like, we're going to Byron Bay, like was going to get a tarot reading in Byron Bay, and she went on a few of those shows as the tarot reader that they went and visited because she had such a good rapport and just was the main reader in Byron at the time. And they came in with such like curiosity, but also just like for the TV show aspect.
Yeah.
And remember a great story where she just like the presenter was this like pretty egotistical dude,
no
personality. Yeah. And so they did the cards, and it was just like, well, man, you're going through like a lot here. You've got a divorce coming up and this addiction. And it was just like, turn the cameras off. It's like, how do you know this shit? And she's like, it's not. And she's like, you just explain to how it's coming out. And he was like, just wigging out, so sometimes it gives people what they need, not always what they want. But yeah, so that's my mum went onto that path, helping a lot of people. And that curiosity, for me at least, about that world led to doing a record, Divination, which was our first album back in 2012. But we'd spent a couple of years writing it. So I was like 19, 20 at the time. And it was just this exploration. I did some tarot courses and thought like, this is a great concept to write a record about, because each card is like, it's a story and a throughway into characters, like whether it's Gandalf in Lord of the Rings or it's Dumbledore in Harry Potter. These are like the magician or the hermit characters that are in tarot. Just like Frodo is the fool card, the fool meaning like, the innocent fool that's like, got a heart of gold, but it's walking the razor's edge all the time. So yeah, guess what I'm saying is these archetypes in all the movies and franchises that we love as kids and even teenagers, the medicine of them is baked in tarot. And so it just went for this like, wow, I can really sink my teeth, and it's really real for me, these songs and these stories. And so that started Divination, which really kicked the band off.
For sure. I love it. And I love that you have one of the albums has like an encrypted message in it and stuff. Like that's just so creative. And like I've never heard of any other bands like doing that. Like, I mean, when I was growing up, CDs were the thing, tapes and CDs, and like Green Day had like on Dookie like the secret song. You try to like fast forward 25 minutes for a song but the way you guys did it with just like having to decode within there, in the liner notes?
No, not the liner notes. I mean, you could, the liner notes definitely unpacked the meanings of the songs as specifically to the tarot cards, but each song, it had in brackets next to it which card, it was. So
Okay.
it was cool. So like Neverland, the Star, Traveler, the Fool. And so it's the format in which each song was given, so people knew which cards they were about. And there's 22 major arcana cards, and these are these archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
22 of them in every tarot deck, and so we did 11, and so there was 11 still sort of left unspoken for, because those songs didn't relate to those 11. It wasn't a choice, that that's the cards that the other 11 were. And so for like 12 years, these cards were kind of just, we never really, it's, I guess you call it unfinished, but there was no like, we have to come back and finish this. But it was always this sort of knowing that these cards are out here, maybe we'll revisit them someday. And fast forward 12 years, like the timing was right to revisit them in a much more mature, darker way, because the state of the world and actually feeling like adults now.
Mm-hmm.
It's different.
And that's what the new album is, right? You picked up kind of on those last 11 cards.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so interesting.
So these are really dictated now. Obviously, it couldn't be as broad to have 22 and find 11. It was like, no, these are the 11. So it meant it's like, here's your targets for each song, and that, like, there's a great indigenous proverb. It's an arrow without a target always misses. Mm-hmm. And so when you got that target and it's clear, like these are the goalposts, like you really can put all your intention into really like making the devil card, like what is that, and really going there. So it was more potent, I would say, on this record.
So fascinating. Well, just to back up, but even before that first album came out, like, so how do you originally get into music? I mean, obviously parents were actors, and did they play music at all as well? Or like, how do you get introduced? And like, were you in piano lessons, or did you get guitar lessons at an early age or anything like that?
Yeah, at my Steiner school, went to a Rudolph Steiner school. We had to, it was compulsory to learn an instrument. Mm-hmm. And so everyone was doing violin and cello, and you're supposed to pick up one of those two. And like, that's not for me. Like so I just sort of refused, and like, okay, can I do guitar? And they gave me permission to, like, yeah, okay, like, sure. Like, they were nice enough, and, not nice enough, but just like, okay, the kid wants to do guitar, let him do guitar. So I got guitar lessons. And I was always listening to my parents' CDs, Massive Attack, Chris Isaac, Michael Jackson, the Beatles, like, just they're always, in that collection that we all play when you're at home. So I got to understand music that way. But it wasn't until, so my parents broke up, had a divorce at like 7 or 8 years old. And a year or so later, I don't like the term stepdad, but he's just guardian, epic. And it's my other dad, essentially, came into my life.
Bonus
my
dad.
Mom. Yeah, bonus dad.
I'm a bonus dad, so I respect that.
Yeah, stepdad's weird. The term stepdad, I think you go straight to like all the Disney movies, and there's the stepmom, the evil stepmom, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I love that you see it that way. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's not a step. It's like extra dad, bonus dad. I like that. Bonus dad's cool. I'm gonna use that.
Go for it.
So bonus dad was actually a musician. He played in a hardcore band called Mass Appeal, and they were like, I didn't know it at the time, and only realized it later how much of a big band they were in the late 80s, early 90s. They toured with Anthrax. They toured with like Black Flag. I think Fugazi. They even the Fugazi tour, I'm pretty sure. Just when all those bands came to Australia, like Mass Appeal were like the band that, they were the Parkway Drive of the time to go, to tour with the punk bands, get the support. And they were from Sydney. So I didn't understand music, but my bonus dad got asked when I was age 12 or 13, to do a reunion show, because Henry Rollins was doing a West Memphis 3 Black Flag reunion tour. And it was in support of the West Memphis 3 fundraiser for those convicted. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was such when I was driving to when we drove from San Diego to Tennessee, you go through West Memphis, Arkansas, into West Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, it's bizarre. They're like right there. And yeah, we drove by all that because I remember when that happened, And I was
Okay.
at like an Alkaline Trio show. I'd never heard of it. In the beginning of the show, they played kind of a short video of what was happening, and like Eddie Vedder was in the video, and like that was such an interest. I mean, that whole thing was just so wild, and how that was all happened. And then they've really never. I mean, it was alluded that it was a stepfather, and we'll go with stepfather on that one. That
Definitely.
that
Yeah.
did it, but wow. So okay, so that was happening, and then they were going to do a show in support of,
Yeah, an
like a
Australian tour.
fundraiser, yeah, to
Yeah,
raise money
yeah,
for them.
yeah. And Henry Rollins, he wasn't a member of Black Flag, but he was like had brought it like it was billed as um Henry Rollins with Black Flag or Black Flag with Henry Rollins. I can't remember, but
Hmm.
Henry Rollins was very much on the poster to like show that he was not still part of the band, but they were getting together to like play this special tour. And Henry had specifically asked for Mass Appeal to be on the tour because they had toured together in the past. And
That's
so
crazy.
there I was like, I don't know how old. I keep saying 11, 12, 13 because I can't quite remember. But
Hmm.
pre-puberty, this little kid, like I remember being on side stage. They pulled me in the back. Security guards were super reluctant to let me into this 18 plus like drinking, venue.
Hmm.
Um, as security guards always are. They've got all I get it. But anyway, so I'm standing side stage, and I remember watching my stepdad just like screaming, like, and he's the calm, like chill dude, and then he's on stage, he's gone nuts, and it was
He was
just
a
sold out.
vocalist for the
Yeah,
band.
he's the vocalist, yeah,
Okay.
and like this punk, it was hardcore punk. I didn't understand the music, but I understood the energy, and the crowd was going absolutely nuts. I had never seen anything like it. It was like a mix of like headbanging and chaos. Like everything was just being thrown around the room, and it was just like I was hooked. And then I got to watch Henry do it with Black Flag, and then I got to meet Henry after the show. I remember just this, got a presence about him, and he was still really like in his like, I don't want to say, he's an old guy now, but he's in his youth. Like he's still very like energetic and fit and had this big energy. I remember like, hey man, what's up? Like got to meet him. Like I was like, Randy, my stepdad, like, hey Henry, this is my son Jake. And it was like, oh my God, this dude is so scary on stage, but he was so nice, like
Sure.
backstage. And it kind of completed the paradox, and of my knowing my dad, that my bonus dad is calmly going on the stage, and then seeing the other way around where the guy was crazy, and then meeting Henry off stage and he was nice. And I'm like, okay, this adds up. Like these people there's something going on here where they're letting their stuff out and providing a space for people to go nuts. And it's not necessarily who they are off stage, but it's still a part of them. So I thought that was really cool. I
That's
didn't quite.
amazing. I can imagine how that would get you into music. I mean, being side stage for shows like that, and
Yeah.
having your bonus dad be like in this band. Like, I mean, to not know how big of a deal they were, at 11, 12, 13, whatever years old, and then they do this reunion show, and you're just like, damn, like, was that the first time you had a chance to see him perform like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
100%.
my gosh.
Yeah. There wasn't, we didn't have, I don't think there was YouTube. I couldn't just go on YouTube and watch something at that point.
Yeah, and they weren't
Um,
playing actively. They did a reunion for
no,
that.
exactly. They fully joined back up. So, he might have showed me a few photos to allude to, oh, yeah, I was in a band, but I had no concept of it.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't like, check this out. Like I was in this like it wasn't, yeah.
Yeah.
You just happened to
Yeah.
find out all this crazy information. My
Yeah.
my Black Flag story is my son, the one that I'm bonus dad to. In second grade, his teacher, her brothers, or her brother's Greg Ginn, and from Black Flag, and her other brother is the one that does all the art for,
Oh, cool.
he's done all the art for a bunch of different people. And then Black Flag, we saw Black Flag at a skateboard demo that we were at, and he's like, he has a picture with Greg Ginn. He's like in second grade, and it's so funny because he usually doesn't like photos. He doesn't do like interviews or anything like that. But we walked up to him. I was like, "Oh, my son's your sister's my son's teacher." And he's like, really? And we're like, yeah, Erica McMiniman. He's like, oh my God. And then so like he took a picture with him and stuff. It was wild, you know, and then he got to see him play. And like Mike Vallely was singing Black Flag at the time, but it was wild. But
wow.
Yeah, for him to see like, whoa, that's my second grade teacher's brother, you know. Probably similar to what you said. You're like, oh, that's my dad's like band.
Yeah.
Like this is crazy.
Crazy.
But so that obviously gave you the damn, like this is what I want to do. Was like, did you kind of have that at that moment, or was it just like this is really cool, and then eventually you kind of realized like that's
yeah. I don't think it was a penny drop. This is what I want to do, but it was just like I was exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize it was what I wanted to do, I think, until we moved to Byron Bay.
Okay. Were you in Sydney at the time?
Wait, no. Sorry. We were already living in Byron Bay, but we had just gone down to Sydney to watch the gig.
Okay.
So we were already living in Byron Bay, but it wasn't until, I don't know how I found out about it, but there was like some local hardcore shows on, like happening at the youth center. This tiny little, they had 2 roller doors, like garage doors that they roll up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like $5. And you go and a bunch of local hardcore bands would play. And it just so happened that the first show I went to, I didn't go with my dad. I went with some friends from school. I think we were all 13, 14. So it's going to be within the year after seeing, Massive Hill play.
Mm-hmm.
But this one might have been $10. Pretty sure it was $10, which was like, expensive. But
sure.
it was Tera. Tera were the headliner.
Oh wow!
And then it was like all these bands that were like local, like 50, I think it was like might have been 50 Lions. No, it wasn't 50 Lions. Doesn't matter who they were, but they're all local bands. And the promoter was Resist Records, which were the band that had signed Parkway Drive. But Parkway Drive weren't massive yet. Like they weren't selling out shows yet, because I went to a Parkway show like pretty soon after. It was $5. It wasn't sold out. It was like, it was a really cool time when you when you felt like you were a part of something that wasn't yet meeting its demand. Like, you know what I mean? They'll supply for it, but like it wasn't like sold out, can't make it in. So it felt like you discovered something, because you knew how cool and like epic the energy was and the space was. And I was meeting people, and that's where I sort of met the other half of the band, which would be In Heart's Wake. They actually opened the show for Tera. They were just like 214, I think like 13, 14, same age as me. And there was a drummer and a guitarist, and I knew that my 2 neighbors, like we got interested in playing hardcore shows. And so later on, I'm like, I know a drummer and a guitarist. They opened the Tera show. Like they were in a good band. And they was like, oh, I go to school with them. My neighbors like, I go to school with those guys. There's a natural like inroad of me asking them, and then those guys asking them at school. And next thing you know, we're all playing music together for a battle of the bands that was coming up. And there's 3 of the same members, but
wow.
2 have changed over the years, but we're still a band now.
Were you guys in Heart's Wake at that time? Was this like the band? Yeah. So this was really your first band?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
First band.
Yeah, not many people have that story to be like, and have it work, and have you guys all still be, friends and close. And because usually, you get to a point with a band, or I hear the story a lot, where, some people, it's so much work, right? I mean, you're grinding. There's no money in the beginning. You're just trying to do anything. You're sleeping on floors, and some people just can't. Like they realize, like, this isn't my vibe. I want to get married, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And to have you all kind of stay together and continue on, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to stick at it. You got to have a lot of conversations, and don't let this shit sort of build up underneath the bed, So then it's like, I know we've gotten really good at being able to communicate over the years, and that's been essential. The 2 members that did change and chop and change it, it's been bass and drums. Those roles have changed out, and that is for those reasons. Like one wanted to go on and have a family, and the other was a personality thing, and who knows what. But like, it's just you make the calls at the time,
right?
Yeah. But us three, the two guitarists and myself, we really had to become good communicators, and it's been kind of like a true north, for us, the band at this point when we've been in the band more than half our lives.
For sure.
Yeah, a bit of a true north. It's like, like at least we got the band. We can pour it's like a diary entry to and creative like dump to be able to like express. So it's very lucky to still have it.
It's amazing. You guys did what, like your first, like, kind of tell me, you said that first album kind of was the pinnacle, that kind of what really boosted the band, right? But you had a couple EPs prior to that first album coming out.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of EPs. That was like a demo. We did the Battle of the Bands. And you had to have an original song. So we wrote an original song. We play at the Battle of the Bands. Only one of our members of the band was actually from that school. And so we didn't win. Like, we got told afterwards, because his guitar teacher was like, get the band to play the Battle of the Bands, it'll be fine. Like, he's like, I can't give you the top prize or anything, because you guys aren't all from this school. Like,
that's pretty lame. You're like, but what if we won?
Yeah, exactly. But we were still like, I think it was a Christian school, like we're Christian, and we're fully just, just being us doing our thing. But I think the people were like, what is this? Like, there's some screaming and I don't know, like it wasn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, were you guys heavy? I'm sure you were a pretty heavy band even back at that point.
Definitely.
They were like, what's going on?
So we didn't win, whatever, but we made a demo after that. And then it's like, okay, do you make an album? No, not ready. So the glorified demo is the EP at that time. And I did it for my school project. You could actually do for art. You could
wow.
So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to record my band for art. So we did that, the artwork. I got to basically do it for one of my curriculums was make my band's EP and do it all really professionally with the why did you do this? Like you had to do this whole big folder of essays and stuff. So it actually really allowed me it was cool that I could do that, to learn a lot quickly.
Yeah.
And then it was like, all right, what do you do next? You kind of keep playing Sydney, Brisbane, and driving to these places, and Byron Bay so many times. So it was like, all right, let's all move into a house together. I think we're 18, and we'll all save up, and then we'll go to America to record, because there's no one in Australia that sounded the way we wanted to sound. I had no one with recording gear at the time. It was shy. And I think it was also partly because there was as much experience with Australian producers. Mm-hmm. Even Parkway were going overseas. They're recording with Adam D. They were probably the first band to I think I Kill the Prom Queen, recorded in Adelaide, but we weren't that stoked on the recording. So it was let's go overseas. So we saved up. We all worked our asses off, and we went over and recorded with Josh Schroeder in Michigan. And that was we were hungry, and we put everything into it, and that often produces the best results. And it was enough to make a good record that we were proud of, that we could go send to labels, and UNFD were one of the labels that this is great, let's make this work. And so that really kicked it off.
So they signed you with, you presented them that album, right? The first album.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we funded it, and we did it all ourselves, and that we didn't have any outside money or input. It was just us and Josh Schroeder. He's the sixth member of the band. He was a great mentor and sort of steward when we went to record with him, because we were the first international band, I think, or at least from Australia. There might have been a European band that had recorded with Josh. And so he was also wow, you guys are really betting on me and putting all your money into me, and I've just got this bedroom studio. So he was like, I better step up too.
Yeah, I was wondering, he probably felt a lot of pressure. He's like, oh man, okay. Yeah. These dudes spent all this money to come here. We got to make this a great album.
Yeah, these guys are kids. I think we were just turning 21. Some of us weren't even 21 yet. So we couldn't even go until legally into all the bars yet. So we were kids as far as he was concerned, and he didn't want to fuck it up. So he was just hungry as we were, and that really created good results. That's what we needed. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you sign with UNFD, do they like, how does that change? Like, are you able to have access to bigger tours? Obviously, I mean, the album does awesome. You're like you're on the charts there in Australia with the album and everything else, right?
Yeah. As far as charts go, I remember it was like, I think number 27. It debuted at 27
That's
on
huge.
the charts, which was like we didn't know what the charts meant. I think, and it didn't really mean anything at the time because it's always changing. But it was a number, and for the first time we figured out we were like ranked at.
Yeah, it was probably like a validation, right? You're like, wow, okay, people care about this.
Totally. But UNFD was a label that we really admired because they had broken, like when I say broken, they had, the Amity Affliction were their early stuff, I think was on UNFD. And we were really good friends with North Lane. Like we were touring together in Australia regionally a lot. And then seeing them get signed and like had a record. So we already had friends, and House vs Hurricane, Dream on Dreamer. These were bands that we had, opened their shows and played their things in Australia. So we were just like joining the family that we already were a part of, just not officially in some way.
Right. And they had so many good bands. I mean, they still do, right? But even before that, I mean, Beartooth, I think, was on that label at one point. I mean,
maybe a Beartooth deal. I don't know, but I don't know. Sure, I think Red Bull always had Beartooth.
Oh, okay, but I know that like I was just looking at the like before I got on with you, I was just kind of looking at who they have now. I've had Air on my show a couple times, but like I mean, Frank Euro has his stuff's out on there. I mean, that's so crazy. Silverstein. I mean, just there's a lot of big name bands that yours truly I've had on here, who are a great band from Australia as well.
Yeah, they definitely have dabbled in all different areas for sure. But back then, it was very much like there was no international bands. It was
only Australian bands at that time.
It was only Australia, exactly. And they were the band breaking the bands out and giving them a real opportunity. It was kind of what Rise were doing in America, Rise Records back in the day.
Sure.
When it was Dead Wears Prada and all those bands that were coming through. So so it definitely, once you get that certification and validation of a brand, it also opens up other doors where you can start opening a whole bunch more to it. So then all of a sudden, we got to open at the Enter Shikari tour. I think it was our first tour where we were like, oh, this is a bigger band. We're actually going to be playing like, it's a couple thousand people. Like, this is scary,
Yeah. And when do you kind of get at that point, were you still just playing in Australia mainly, or maybe New Zealand and Australia?
Well, I hadn't played New Zealand yet. At that point, it was Enter Shikari tour first, and then came the Amity Affliction European tour, which was you can open this tour, and so it was like really exciting to go to that. So that was that opportunity came from Divination on that touring cycle, and then doors start to open, and then it's like, okay, we've got to get this band to America at some point. And I believe America took a little bit of time, but it actually coincided with two things. Amity Affliction, Stick to Your Guns did a co-headliner, and we managed to get an opening spot on their tour. And right at the same time, the Ghost Inside, which we had supported in Australia, were just like, we became such good friends, and they loved our music. And so we got to get an American tour. We're going to do a regional tour, B markets. Can you do it? And it just so happened that tour started 2 days after the Stick to Your Guns Amity tour. And because it was B markets along with A markets, it meant, we couldn't, because you can't just play the same stuff so close to each other that it disrupts exclusivity sometimes with tours.
Yeah, there's
But we
like
could
the
do this.
clauses, the radius clauses, and all that fun stuff that
Yeah,
come in, all the business.
the business, yeah, and just the exclusivity, which I totally get. It's, you give someone
Sure.
opportunity, you want them to make it count. But it meant we could do both tours. So all of a sudden we're in America for like 7-8 weeks, and we like finished a tour in California, played a Day to Remember's festival, opened it. I remember it was called Self Help, and then the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
day
that's a huge thing that they do.
and we started the next tour with Ghosts Inside. And so it was like, yeah, like a world was sort of blown open at that point,
Mhm.
opening these bands that we just adored.
Wow. And then
And
you've put out so many albums, right? I mean, you're doing an album like every year, every couple of years for
every two, yeah.
every 2 years since really what the band formed, or I guess like COVID probably was a factor in the 2 year gap between the last two albums. But
Yeah,
um
yeah. We're
um
we've been very, very busy. We just,
yeah.
we got smart. We recorded a double record, which we're really proud of because we had so much content, like it was good songs. It wasn't just filler. And
Mhm.
that double record, we were able to release a year apart, each half of each other. This was what was the follow up to Divination, and so you call it ammunition. You've all of a sudden got like two records for the price of one
Yeah.
trip and the time that took to go there once, and we're able to follow up in quick succession and then tour off that as well. So that really, for like, I don't know, 3-4 years, that became our, it was one recording session for 3 to 4 years, but with two records.
Was that like
So
going in and recording, like was that, I mean, having that much material and then kind of separating it in that big of a gap, was that um like did you feel like at one point maybe you'd have even more songs, and was it like, is this gonna work? You know what I mean? Like if you have all that in one batch and then you're obviously writing and writing and writing out even after that fact, like did you feel like you might get backed up, or like is it worth, are we gonna do this
uh,
second half, or were
oh
you
yeah,
that?
there's always that talk in the room. Yeah, like quality, not quantity. Who's to
But I mean, you
say?
brought quality every time, so it wasn't like it you know what I
No,
mean?
no,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's still the conversation that comes up because when you're so close to your art or stretching to make a leap,
mhm,
there's going to be got to check yourself and have a conversation. As second guessing always happens as an artist all the time. There's time that just feels good and you just know it's good, like in terms of like it feels good, a piece of music. But in terms of a collection of songs, there's always this subjective, like, does this song make the album? Does this song need to be there's always that when you got
yeah,
5 people. So it came up. But I think we were short a song or two. So we were in the studio going, okay, we're going to write 1 to 2 more rather than having so much that we're cutting it back. Because coming up with
right,
22 songs for a recording session is a lot of material when you don't
yeah,
want it to be filler.
sure,
Um, but it fit the concept and the narrative that I felt really strongly about, which I pitched to the band. And then, we made it ours as a band. But having this concept of Mother Earth and Father Sky, and to
mhm,
tell that story into two records 10 years ago when, I just nowadays that kind of stuff it can new age kind of like, it almost becomes cringe. But 10 years ago, at least it wasn't happening in the metal world. Like no one was like
right,
talking about this stuff. And it was so real, like to us, because we were from this natural, beautiful world that we just adored. And yet we're in cities and backstreets playing these rinky-dink venues where you could tell, like, not to judge it, but there wasn't a high vibe of people really thriving in the environment. So, like, the separation and that stuff started to be apparent. And then let's write a record about the things that we not feel strongly about, but we want to protect. And that kind of
mhm,
sparked this is deeper journey of connection to the natural world.
love it. And when we were talking, we were talking kind of like, you had the tarot cards, and then 12 years later, I want to get into this new album and how cool it is that you kind of revisited that. But I think it was it Arc that you had the where you kind of hid stuff in the, was that the one where you hid stuff in there and it kind of spelled out a
No,
message, or am I getting totally
no,
confused?
it was the double record before that. But
Oh, it
people didn't
was.
know about the second half when they, yeah, it was behind the CD. We put a CD, and there was like this clue on a piece of, one sheeter that had the poem and a symbol, and they were like, someone happened to find it because they dropped the CD, and the jewel cases they used to like scatter out, and you have to piece them back together. And someone found it behind it, and they're like, "What the hell? Like, what is this?" And that's how it got found out. So then, when we announced the record a year later, everyone was opening the CD cases to like see, and like, oh, it was there all along, because it didn't.
No one
It
knew,
wasn't like
right?
no one knew, and it didn't go. It's not like it went viral when someone scattered their CD case. That's just the first that we heard about it. Someone commenting and asking us, but no one really didn't spark a thing for everyone to go check until the record was announced a year later. And then you got the artwork when you got the actual CD booklet. It was this fold out spread of like a landscape, and they fit one above the other with the landscape going like this
together.
So
That's
yeah.
Oh,
So
I love that.
Yeah, it was cool. It was such a fun project.
Oh, but
yeah,
Arc was the one where you did the reimagined songs, right? With Arc Prevails. But that was also something that people had to figure out, right?
Yeah, Arc. I can't remember what we did with Arc, to be honest, clue wise, but that was us heading into to what we felt was the importance of water, the element of water. So we just went there with like, we are a water planet, and like basically blue gold, like water is more precious than gold. And so that was this whole other journey of how can we affect and create a better planet. So I can't remember the clues in terms of the CD as such, but it felt bigger and more. There was a maturing that started to happen. Instead of doing signings, we were doing cleanups on beaches. We'd have 50 of our closest fans in Seattle, Melbourne, Christchurch, in New Zealand. Like, it was all these different places, and we'd meet and we'd all get bags, and we'd just clean a whole beach for a couple of hours, and we'd have like just piles and piles of trash. We would find doors and chairs and pool toys, and sometimes 1,000 cigarette butts. We had to count them on time if someone had found them. And we have photos of all this stuff and get a big photo together. And it was just like really cool meeting on that level of like, it's not, I'm at this table and there's a pen, and like it didn't feel as stagey, pedestal-y can get. Sometimes those environments create a situation where everyone's lined up, and this was just all of us together doing this stuff. So it felt really good. And like that was a whole other unraveling of our I don't like the word environmental, but it was a self-awareness journey of what kind of shit do we have on stage if we're picking up pool toys on the beach that are washed up. We've got pool toys on stage, and the jewel cases that we hid clues in are the ones that we're finding broken and cracked, washed up on the beach. A couple of CDs were found. It's like, oh wow, like, okay, how do we reduce our sort of consumption of plastic and do things in a more sustainable way that isn't just like taking the fun out of it, basically.
Right. Yeah, and because you're a pretty big ambassador for all that stuff, right? I mean, you have.
Well, it's more curious. Yeah, you can call it ambassador. Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I see it as a challenge, and I see it as like a challenge that needs to be solved, basically, because it just can't keep going on the way it is. But I'm not like a extremist in that sense. I don't consider myself that, but I approach it as an artist would approach it. Like, I just feel like I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I just give it a go and I ask questions. But I don't like to ever think I'm an expert other than this is what I've learned. That's it.
And you're supportive of it, and you voice your support for it. And,
yeah.
Which is rad, especially with the platform you guys have created for yourselves and stuff. And
no, you're right. That's taking the definition of an ambassador. Somehow the word ambassador feels so proper. An ambassador, like it's like.
Maybe we can think of another word. I don't know.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, though. Yeah, it's in support of perpetuating that way of being. Yeah, I get it.
Sure. With that, well, you did an album before this one's coming out, and I think you released just via the internet. You guys released a single you kind of dropped the single from the album like on March 17th, which worldwide suicide, which is kind of like when everything in the world really, I think it was here with like March 17th, 2020 was when like the world really stopped, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. The timing of that record was nuts. Like we'd written and recorded that. Well, we'd finished it 6 months prior, and we'd been writing it a year before that. And all of the songs, once you've got this body of work, it's like for this record, we knew that we were heading into the fire element because it was the only element left unchecked. And as we were recording the record, Australia has its biggest bushfires ever recorded.
Yeah, that was insane.
And we had like the size of, I don't know, it was Belgium or one of the European countries, a lot of land, essentially, like, the size of a country, not a big European country, was the land that got torched, and we lost so many animals. And I'm looking at photos and videos of the neighborhoods that I grew up in. You can see like the whole sky's red and it's like on fire. And you're like, oh my God, like the world is literally ending back home, and we're writing a record about fire. And so it was scary and kind of like appropriate of what we were doing to put it into our art. So worldwide suicide was written in a day, and that feeling of like what are we doing? We're exacerbating all of these issues that like forests are meant to burn naturally, but we don't let them burn because obviously we've got houses and state, like all of the reasons. And the indigenous was so good at knowing when to burn and when to allow it to burn. And so you've got a basically a big tinder bundle ready to go up, and you get a strike of lightning or any arsonist, ask the arsonist, and boom, it goes up. And so it's just this whole theme of like, what are we doing to ourselves and the planet? And they're so interlinked, the health of everything. So we planned worldwide suicide to come out on this date, March 17. We looked at the record as a body of work. Okay, it feels like end of days, so to speak. It's not be doom and gloom about it because we're not, but it's Kali Yuga, which was prophesied by the Hindu ancients thousands and thousands of years ago, which would be like this coming to a head of everything, where we would like, no longer worship gods in the spirit, but we'd worship gods of the flesh, like whether it's Brad Pitt and Angelina and who's having the next, super twins or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You know what I mean? So it feels like that. Let's call it Kali Yuga. It just felt so appropriate. We had everything planned, and then like the timing. We even on the front cover, like she's even holding one of her hands, a cell phone in the other hand. She's holding like the needle, like the injection needle, referring to modern medicines and stuff, and that became one of the biggest topics for the next 2 years and debates of
vaccine,
of getting vaccinated, yeah. But
stuff.
just like, so it was just all coming to us to the surface. All the
that's
things
so wild that was already already something that you guys had pre-planned out, and then it just kind of fell in line with everything that was already to happen, right? I mean, in the beginning, the vaccine wasn't an argument, and then it became like this, this whole thing later. I mean, and that kind of
was politicized,
foreshadow that, all that happened. I mean, and what's unfortunate is like, when you reminded me of the fires in Australia, that was something that was like, it almost became, it got pushed down, at least here in America, because of all the other things, police brutality and the, the vaccines and COVID and people not being able to work. And it just like all these things just kind of just all happened at one time. And
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, and her, not to get too into the album cover, but she had the gun in the other hand, cash in the other hand.
Yeah,
like there was food also, like how we look, how we producing food and how we're looking at the food. It was like, but like it's not trying to be prophetic because that's really what's happening on the planet. It's just what that time did when it all came to a head is all of it just like came up at once, and we're just like overwhelmed.
Right, it all just kind of happened, and you just had this album covered, and this album that was covering all these things that was like, whoa.
So when sort of when it was sort of proposed to us or even thought about, should we delay the album? It was like, no, this is meant to come out. Like the timing of it, it's of the time. Like, let's not wait 2 years so that we didn't know how long it was going to last, but let's not wait so that we can throw off it and surprise the world. It felt almost like we'd be doing the art a disservice to sit on it. But like that could have played out differently. I was thinking about what would happen if we sat on it and just like released it right when touring came back.
I think the effect it had and like the meaning and everything kind of really was there. It was perfect time to put it out instead of waiting. Because a lot of artists did that. They're like, oh, I recorded this album in 2019, but I didn't put it out until late 21 or 22 because what was I going to do with it? No one, I couldn't afford it. Yeah, you can't capitalize.
Yeah, and I spent all this time and money on it, and so there was a bit of like that hurt to a degree. It's like we put all this energy into something that just, was a thing for a week, and then there's a shooting, or like all these other fallen things that like just demand your attention, and everything was just getting swallowed like so quickly in like the belly of society. It's just like, and then like who's getting cancelled, and then like we need to address this absolute horrific villain that's been doing all these things behind closed doors, and it was just relentless. Of a period to sort of endure, and quite fascinating from a case study, but to be in it was another story. And in that space we got to like look at our self-reflection, and that's where this documentary that we did and created a soundtrack for it, which came out in 2022, so we had 2 years to work on it, and that was our pandemic project.
Was that Green Is the New Black?
Yeah, exactly. And that was like what was it was always going to be about the making of that record, Carl Hugo, and how we did it in a sustainable way. But it was it was originally intended to just be like a 5-minute explainer, just so people understood why we did what we were doing. And then it was like, this is way more than 5 minutes of what's happening here, and we've actually there's actually a story here because there's so much discovery. So we just went deeper and deeper and deeper, just capturing. Next minute we've got a 90-minute film, and like we need music for it because you can't just go and buy music and then you've got these copyright issues. So Ben and Evan at guitar, so they're making music appropriate to the parts, and a soundtrack and a doco, and we just submitted it to a bunch of film festivals, and it did really well. And we've got what's it called? Like, you've got the Grammys, and in Australia you've got the ARIAs, and you got an ARIA nomination for the soundtrack, and next minute with the ARIAs for this soundtrack that was like not even metal, it was just this atmospheric kind of soundtrack. So it really opened up different doors, not so much for the metal scene because we'd already been a part of that, but also all the mainstream folk artists and stuff are calling me up saying like, how do we like, what merchandise, how are you switching, like getting rid of polyester and cotton, and like, what are you doing? And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, man, but like, this is just what I've learned.
Back to the thing where you're just you're doing something, and you have this platform and people are paying attention now, and you're like,
this could be the way,
kind of how we do
it.
I love it, man. And then you even had your bonus dad on that record as well. That must have been cool to have. Didn't he sing on one of the songs?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that like? Asking him, hey, and I didn't even really ask you about the fact that, he had accomplished all of these things as an artist and a vocalist. He must have been pretty proud. And did he provide you any like insight or like mentorship when it came to your band? Or did he kind of just keep his hands really out? Okay.
Yeah, not really. He's so chill, and like he just was proud. He's proud in that sense, but like it never told me how to do anything. Of course, if I asked him to do something, he would tell me, but he was never the business sense of the band or how to do T-shirts this way. He was just like, here's the mic, I'm going to say what I say and feel what I feel. And someone else handled that in the band. I don't have any specific memory or time other than telling me like, don't hurt yourself when you scream, and like, you know, ease into it, and like those sorts of tips for sure.
Yeah. And then ask you, he must have been pretty touched when you asked him to sing on Iron Days.
Yeah, it was he record. We had no studio to go to at the time, so we recorded it in my bedroom. And there's actually footage in the documentary of Randy like screaming in the bedroom and filming on the bed, and like my guitar is sitting on my desk and recording it. And it does a great transition into like him tracking to like the song and the part.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a really good voice. Like I would love like hearing his voice in modern sounding like stuff. It sounds like, you know, it's high pitched. It's almost like Knock Loose or remember Warriors from California.
Yeah.
It's got that, like, it's intense. And it's really good. It's really good. So
that's cool.
I love his voice.
You should do a side project with him. That'd be sick.
Totally. Just pacing the stage, two screamers, just going nuts.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, with that last album, you kind of wrapped up, you said the elements, you know, with Fire. And then was that like going into this next album, and did you like, what was the, at that point, did you know it was time to kind of revisit those other 11 cards?
Yeah, I felt like it's something I want to do before the band, you know, calls it a day. If we do at some point, you know, life's getting on. I don't know how many records. You don't know, especially with the pandemic and, you know, touring being sort of like, is it on? Is it off? So with this opportunity to make another record was very much like, guys, it's time to revisit this and feel complete about it. So that's, yeah, it came from a really, yeah, like, this is right. Like, I want to do this. And you know, it just was, there was conversation around like, let's not force it and then like stitch ourselves up when we could do something brand new, which is always like a fear of, you know, doing a throwback with it appearing old. But it just really suited the music and the story that needed to be told with the band, taking this, like, I call it, and it's not it's an evolved step forward in a big way. We've had a member, a critical member of the last 4 records is going on to be a father. And in that process, we were naturally going to become heavier because he was doing the clean singing. And so we already decided we're doubling down on the heavy and doing, like, you know, what we do really well, but like, how can we do it even better? And so this underworld deep dive, when you've got cards like the devil, it just felt so appropriate to really like go there and have it be the flip side of the coin. It's no longer this joyful light, you know, the world's big grand place at 21, which was very much like of the daylight. This is total midnight, you know. Yeah, bewitching hour record.
Yeah. So did he record? Or you're talking about Kyle, right? He left the band and he had farewell. And did he record on the album with you all, or had he left before the album?
Yeah, he totally. Well, he'd left. He's still been a part of all the conversations and there, but he had said, like, he had made it known. We had a camp out that we like to like check in. We had a camp out and we're sitting around the fire, and it was like, you know, he just shared like, this is where I'm at. And it wasn't like, hey guys, I'm out. It was just, this is how I'm feeling. And we're supportive of what you need to do.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't fully sure like this is happening, but he expressed his like what was coming up. And so for the course of the year, we're like taking steps towards like, giving him what he needed without it being like this cut and dry thing. So we were writing a new record that was without him. And also like creating a song together that would be his last song, which is not on the record. It's his own thing. So yeah, it's like a breakup process with a prolonged, like, you know, year or so to feel it out, to make sure it was right for him. Because if he'd been like, actually I want back in, we'd been like, all right, like,
yeah,
cool,
it wouldn't
like,
have been
the
a
record's
question,
not finished.
right? Like, yeah, it wouldn't have been like, oh, well, you said you were leaving. So, you know,
Exactly.
This guy's been with you for so long, and it wasn't like you said, like a personality thing or a huge fight.
No.
It was just,
Totally.
you know, you know, this is where my heart's at right now, and I got to do this. So,
But once we got to the studio and leading up to, weeks, months before, at that point, we've got this many heavy songs. Like we were committed to this being a reality,
Mm-hmm. And did you know, like, did you write the songs prior to, putting them to a card, or was it like, okay, we know we're going to go in with the 11 remaining tarot cards and Devil, we're going to write a song for this, or
it's a bit of both.
Okay.
A bit of both. Probably lent towards knowing which cards are with which songs already. There was a few ominous ones where, is this song going to make the record musically? And then before really diving into, okay, this song needs vocals to actually take it to like this level. Here, if we're committing to this song, this is the card that remains. So how can we be like, integral to the essence of that card and bring the lyrics and the vocals to get it to that place? So there's a bit of like puzzling out, especially in the last quarter. But I'd say 3/4 of it, if not 70% at least, super solid, like Orphan the Devil. Like that was, you've got key markers, which we knew would be on the record. Yeah.
I love it. And I think it's so cool that you have implemented like the tarot cards into your, your band, and kind of like what your mom picked up doing. And like, I think it's so cool that like did she get like, was she thought that was cool that you kind of done that? Like, picked up with something that she has a passion for, and,
For sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, I imagine any parent we, proud or encouraged that their parenting rubbed off in some way. And it's a positive thing. I think you like tarot being a tool to ask not only more questions, but to seek clarity and to understand more of the journeys that we're on, in this human form. We did a lot of consulting, like with her, this card's like this, so like, can you just check over that? And she'd consult for both records. Did heaps of consulting with that. So like, it's not just our interpretation. Like it would be double checked off with, what we call a professional that has been doing this for 25 years.
You're
so,
right.
Yeah.
With on your website, I'm just curious, you have the tarot card collector, right? Can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It's a website with 11 cards. Each week a new card gets unveiled, and you can choose to flip over the card, and underneath it, it's got either a clue, a teaser, or a game, which tells you more about that particular song attached to that particular card. And then once you collect, once we get to a full 11 weeks when the record comes out, which will be July 12th, you have to have turned over and engage with all of the cards. There's actually going to be something that you'll get, which I'm not going to say.
Right.
So it's like, that's the collecting part of it. And it was just this neat idea that me and Luke, our actual ex-manager, had. We still work together this entire time. He's the consultant and a friend. So we've been working on this record together, and we just had this idea of how can we make a website like a tarot card spread that you could revisit at any point. Like some people might not even discover there's a website until a week before the record's out, and they can still go back and like turn all the cards over and be like, oh, cool, okay, that makes But there's lots of clues for those people that want to find more about the record and how it was made. That's all baked into those cards. So incarnation.inartswake.com. It's basically the home for our album website. Yeah.
I love that, man. I love how you guys do all those cool little, you have the not Easter eggs, but you kind of hide these little things within your artwork, and to have not only great music and a great album and everything that comes with it, but to even take it to the next step with this whole other creative side that is so unique and not anyone I've talked to is doing anything like that. I think that's so rad.
Cool. Thanks, man. That's nice to hear that. Yeah, I realized the music isn't just enough for feeling full as an artist. There's so much more that we want to do and share. Like it's not for an outcome that we desire, but clearly we want to unpack these things and find a way to communicate these things to the people that care, and doing it in a creative way makes the music that much more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
It's layered. It's definitely a layered thing, and it's fun. It's ultimately a lot of fun. Yeah.
And you're doing a big tour, September? And that's Kyle's last tour with the band too.
Exactly. Yeah.
That'll probably be an emotional tour, I would imagine.
Yeah. Probably. It's still not quite real. Like it won't be real tour on the stage and looking at it and being like, "This is the last time you're going to be up here, dude." That I think we're all we're aware of it, but we're not actually like feeling what that's going to feel like yet, because it's going to be really odd and exciting, but also daunting, especially for him more than us, because we get to keep getting up there. But for him, it's his last time. So he really wanted that. So it's good last chance.
Did you guys choose the last date for a particular reason, or just kind of happened that way?
It happened that way. Yeah. When you say the last date, you mean where the last show lies? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, the last show. It's the show in Perth, right? That's the last show on the tour. But I didn't know if it was like something special to him, or if you couldn't figure out to do it that way.
It would have been more ideal for it to end in Brisbane, closer to home.
Okay,
I think ideally, but it's just how the weekend, what was available panned out.
Right.
But maybe that would also be too loaded to have it all be in the home for the end. Maybe it's good that we just can have it be. Maybe that's
away and then celebrate all together, and not all right. Well, see you at home. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. We've got, and I think it gets announced tomorrow, which will be now for whenever this gets released.
Yeah, it'll be out.
But the tour's got Paleface, Swiss, King 810, and a band called Gravemind on the lineup. So it's it's very heavy lineup of the tour, which is appropriate to the record. Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very
which
cool,
is,
man.
I think people aren't going to be used to, going to take a bit of adjusting, because they're used to previous bands, Beartooth, We Came as Romans, just more, let's call it metalcore, which is great, that singing chorus, but this is not that. They've been to deathcore, hardcore world now.
Yeah. There's not those more melodic choruses. It's gonna just be a lot heavier.
At least for the time being, it's what's right. So we're following that.
Love it. Well, I appreciate your time, Jake. Thank you, man, so much for doing this. You have such a fascinating story, and the creativity with the band and everything else you guys are doing.
Thanks, man.
It's so awesome. I do have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Just make sure it's coming from if it's coming from a good place, and it can get you up out of bed at 5 a.m. for it, then keep pursuing that. I believe those are the right reasons for continuing to show up. And if you continue to keep showing up with that in mind, it gets me out of bed and it's coming from a really real place and there's something to be said, then it'll carve through that canyon or that wall that seems impossible with all that's out there, and it'll make a difference on the other side. It'll find a way. I really believe that.
Bringin It Backwards.